What's going on, everybody? I'm Terrence, and this is Bank Shipping. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hopefully everybody's having a good morning so far. If you ain't up, like I always say, go ahead and get up, start that grind. We are here in Montrose, Virginia, picking up a new load for a potential new customer. As you guys, I'll kind of spin the camera around here. So as you guys can see, it is utility trailers. It's the Carry On brand of utility trailers, which you can find at Tractor Supply. So we have a pickup and 3 drops going up into western Pennsylvania, up there in the Pittsburgh area. So we are just waiting in line to get loaded. Once I get loaded, I will get back to you guys. All right, guys, so we got caught by the dark. Had a little issue, had to stop and get fixed. Coming down the road, I had my fender on the truck. The post mount, the bolt that holds the post broke. So this is and of course, you know, the fender falls down on your tire, all that good stuff. So I had to, you know, take the fender off and strap it down and get back. And I actually stopped at my buddy's shop, who you know, I pretty much stop there anytime I need work done on my truck. So we stopped there and got it put back on real quick. Took about 10 minutes to get another bolt and slide the fender back on, tighten it back down, and then we got back on the road. So that's the second time that this has happened with these fenders. Now, if you guys been following me, you know that my old fenders, the lowrider fenders that I had, the lowrider full fenders that I had, the brackets broke, and I took them off because when the brackets broke, it actually broke the stainless fenders. So I took them off and I got some new ones that weren't lowrider fenders, but they were still full fenders. So the lowrider fenders that I had, they bolted from the bottom and then had a bracket that went up to the frame of the truck. These bolt from the top, or, you know, they basically, you know, the hog built has the post mounts that, you know, you drill a hole in the frame or you use an existing hole. So like my front ones, for the front post, they use the hole for the spring hanger. And then, you know, you drill a hole in the frame for the back post. And then the bracket for the actual fender slides on that post, and there's a clamp that tightens the bracket down on that post. So what's been happening is, you know, the roads are just rough. You know, so, and this being an older truck, you know, it doesn't have the newer suspension that newer trucks have, so it's a little rougher, a little less forgiving on the roads. So what happens is, inside that post, the bolt gets loose, or the nut, you know, that bolt and nut get loose. And so there's really no way to tighten that up without taking the fender off. And there's really no way to even figure out if that bolt is loose, because there's tension on it. There's, you know, there's pressure on it. So, because see, after the second time it happened, you know, the first time was with the old fenders. I took those off, put the new fenders on. It happened on the driver's side where that bolt broke and the fender laid on my tire. So I've been having a habit of checking all the bolts on the fenders to make sure that they're not loose. Well, I guess because there's tension on that bolt, it still feels like that it's not loose. So what happens is it gets loose and then vibrating up and down the road, bumping up and down the road. Eventually that bolt gets fatigued and breaks because it's loose in there and it's just bouncing up and down on the frame. So that's what happened with that. So I had to get it put back on, you know, get another bolt, get it put back on, all that good stuff. But eventually, and well, not eventually, soon, I will be going away from full fenders. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the look of full fenders. I would love to put a nice set of, you know, truck painted to match fiberglass fenders on there. But fiberglass fenders, they vibrate less. That's the good thing about fiberglass fenders, is they vibrate less, so you tend to not have these problems. But the only problem is that they're expensive, super expensive, and you know, I go into job sites and stuff like that a lot. I don't want to be spending a bunch of money on something that is going to break. In other words, you know, I can hit a divot like I did at the landfill the other day, and you know, rip one off, and then you got to spend hundreds of dollars, you know, to get another one to get replaced. So I talked myself out of, because I was going to buy some fiberglass fenders, but I talked myself out of it, and I got some quarter fenders. I was kind of weary about quarter fenders because a lot of times quarter fenders aren't long enough on the top of the tire to where it'll still allow rocks and things, debris, to be still thrown up on the back of your cab. But you know, I don't have a rear window or anything to worry about, but still, I don't want dents and stuff all on the back of my cab. So I ended up finding some quarter fenders that are lowrider quarter fenders. They're 38-inch. They're by Trucks Accessories, but they roll up on the top of the tire more than what a normal quarter fender does. So I got some of those. They're actually in. I just am waiting on my mud flap brackets, because once I go to the quarter fender, I won't have anything in the rear anymore. So I need to put my mud flap brackets back on and get mud flaps. So I have mud flaps. I'm just waiting for the brackets. So once they get on, I can get everything on. But anyway, enough of that. This is our load. So we got a nice full load of trailers. They are the Carry On brand trailer that goes to Tractor Supply. So this is a multiple stop load. Like I said, we are up in Nortana Heights or something like that, somewhere up in Pennsylvania, somewhere up a little bit north of Pittsburgh. I normally don't run this way. I don't really get, you know, west of 81 that much, Interstate 81 that much. But I was supposed to take a load of these to Virginia Beach and then go back to the plant, get another load, and then it had 2 stops in Richmond. But that got all messed up with appointment times and stuff like that. So they ended up giving me this load instead. So this was this is a 3-stop load. Didn't really, like I said, I don't really come this way. I don't like coming out this way, but I couldn't pass down the money. So it's a 3-stop load. I got this stop here, and then I have my second stop in Grove City, and the third stop is in Hermitage. So all 3 stops in Pennsylvania. They're all within, I think Grove City is like 45 minutes or an hour away from where I'm at right now, and then Hermitage is like 30 minutes from Grove City. So they're all close together. The 3 stops are all close together. It was just, you know, from the plant to here, the first stop was 6 hours. So we are going to stay here tonight. I'm at the Tractor Supply. So basically I wake up, brush my teeth, put my deodorant on, that whole good thing, and unload. So this stop is going to get the first 3 little trailers that are on my top deck. They'll get those top 3. So I'll still have one on the bottom, or the 1 trailer on the top deck. I'll still have one up there, and then the other stops are it's kind of like a mix match. It's kind of weird the way they set them up. It wasn't like each stop gets a stack. You know, the first stop gets 3 off of the first stack, but then I'll still have 1 left, and then the next stop has 2 off the second stop, and I'll still have 1 left. So eventually, when I'm headed to my last stop, I'll have 1 trailer on the top deck, 1 trailer right here, and then these 3 trailers. So it'll be kind of weird, but whatever. It's only 30 minutes away. So, you know, a lot of strapping, unstrapping, and restrapping, but it'll be fine. The trailers rode different than most loads I'm used to, because they kind of roll and rock. They don't, no matter how tight you have your straps, they don't like move as if it was something concerning. It's just they kind of sway a little bit, you know, with the trailer. So that was a little different. I was constantly in my mirrors like, is my strap loose? Is my strap loose? But you know, I stopped a couple times and checked just to make sure, especially on the top deck on those little ones, just because on these bigger trailers, as you guys can see, I have them, I used my 2-inch ratchets and I have them strapped in all 4 corners. So with that, you get an even pull on all 4 corners. So they set nice and level, nice and tight. They don't rock, they don't move or anything like that. You know, the same with this stack right here. You know, I have them in all 4 corners, and then I even have a 4-inch winch strap right here, just because that trailer all the way up at the top is a little trailer. So it was pulling down directly right here, and just to be safe, you know, I wanted to make sure that this little back half wouldn't move, so, or this back quarter wouldn't move, so I just threw a winch strap over there. You know, so both of those stacks with the bigger trailers, I can put on 4 corners and tie them down nicely. But the little trailers, there's nowhere to hook to get 4 points of contact, just because they're too little and they don't have any stake pockets or anything like that. There's no area to hook your flat hook. Now, I can potentially start running these a lot. So if I do, you know, this is my first load out of that place, trying to get some more work out of there. So if I do end up getting more work out of there, these little trailers, they have like this little, not like a loop, but it's like a little hump that's welded on for like a J-hook. You know, so if I start running these more and I get a lot of these little trailers, I might go out and buy some ratchet straps that have J-hooks, and then I can hook to all 4 corners, because they have a spot for J-hooks on all 4 corners. You know, so that might come in the future. So I'm actually going to be running another one of these loads next week. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop back in the truck, shut her down and get some sleep, and then we'll get back to it in the morning. We're gonna drop all 3 of these off tomorrow morning, and then we got another load that we're gonna pick up and then head back to the house. So I'll see y'all in the morning.
Fire.
All right, everybody, so we got all 3 of those drops off up in Pennsylvania for those trailers. It was Natura Heights, Grove City, and Hermitage, Pennsylvania. And then after that, I left Hermitage and went up to Ohio to Tallmange, I don't know how you pronounce it, but went there and picked up some insulation, very similar to what I always run. So that goes to Sparrows Point, Maryland on Monday to a Home Depot. It's right outside of Baltimore, so most likely I'll drop that off and then try to get one of those containers to run in between. So it's a full, well, not a full, but a 48-foot load. I'll show you guys. So got us a full load, full tarp, 48 feet long, but it only weighs like 5,000 pounds, I think, not even, like 4,400 pounds or something like that. So super light. But we are here in Breezewood, Pennsylvania, just got off the turnpike, and we're going to get some fuel, head the rest of the way to the house. But I wanted to at least show you guys this before I got caught by nightfall. So I'm gonna run in the TA so I can pay for, or the Flying J, so I can pay for my fuel, because for some reason the phone app isn't working here. And then I also got to get a couple more bungees, just because it's been a while since I tarped, and so I guess my bungees kind of got dry rotted and stuff like that. So when I went to tarp this load, there was like a good 15 bungees that broke. A couple of them almost hit me in the face, had one smack me in the chest. Still kind of hurts, but I don't know if you guys have ever had a bungee break and hit you, but it's not a great feeling. So I'm gonna run in here in the Flying J and see if they got some bungees so I can finish tying this thing up. It's not bad, it rides fine, but it kind of does blow out because I didn't have enough bungees to get, you know, this area as tight as I would like, and the same with the front. So well, hopefully they got some in there so I can grab those just for some peace of mind. If not, it'll be all right. So I'll see y'all in a little bit. All right, guys, it is Saturday. Ran into the darkness last night. Got up this morning, had to do some things to the old girl. I was having some issues yesterday, Thursday and Friday actually, where the truck was kind of losing power, going up upgrades, and it was only when I was loaded. It wasn't when I was empty. So I figured it was go ahead time for a service. I was getting there anyway for PM, so went ahead and parked the truck last night. Got up this morning, serviced the truck. That's why I was rubbing my face, because I got some grease or dirt or something on my face. Almost looks like I got eye black on. Get ready to play football. But yeah, so you know, went ahead and unhooked the trailer and took to a buddy's shop. Pulled her in there, and you know, got the oil. We did the oil change, you know, oil filters, fuel filters, that good stuff. You know, check the brakes, everything. Check the kingpins, the bushings, steering, all that stuff that you do in a normal PM. Change the fuel filters, all that good stuff. Grease the whole entire truck. So she is good to go. And then you guys know, if you've been watching my videos, that I've been having problems with my fenders, with the brackets breaking and everything like that from all the vibration. I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on fiberglass fenders just for them to break. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to chance it. So I went with quarter fenders. I was kind of weary, like I said before, on quarter fenders about stuff being thrown up on my truck because they weren't long enough. But I actually got some from Trucks Accessories. They're normally more known for lighting, You know, all the lights that I have on here, from most of them are from Trucks Accessories and stuff like that. But they actually have what they call a 38-inch low rider quarter fender. So that's these right there. So they are a quarter fender, but they go pretty low down to the ground. But the good thing about these is a lot of times your quarter fenders only come up to about right here. But the good thing about these is they're rolled more back on the tire, so that when you have your flap up here, it catches, and you can see there's pretty much hardly almost no gap in between the trailer and the flap on those. So the chances of stuff getting thrown up on the back of my cab are slim to none. And you can kind of see from the side how that fender rolls and follows the tire. So, you know, I put those on, and because I put those on and took the full fenders off, I had to go and put new mud flap brackets on. So that's what I did. I got those on there, got the lights wired up and everything, got the mud flaps on with my weights and everything like that. I had plans on fixing the mud flaps on the front fender, these right here, just because those are older. They're kind of ripped up, and I'm actually missing one on the other side. But the ones that I had, I guess aren't for that front fender, because there's no way to fit unless I wanted to drill new holes in the fender or something like that, which I just wasn't willing to do. So I got to figure something out for those, because it's driving me crazy only having one for mud flap. So yeah, so you know, you guys saw a little bit of the load last night. It was a little dark. So you know, it is a 48-foot load, like I said. Full tarp. I did get a bunch of bungees at the Flying J. They had a bunch of them, so I got, you know, some new ones. So I got that tightened down. That's not blowing in the wind anymore, not driving me nuts. So all in all, Saturday, still working, but that's part of the game. You know, when you're not on the road, a lot of times you're fixing stuff. But I'm glad that I was able to get everything fixed, and my truck serviced, get my fenders on and everything like that. But I had a comment about on my last video. You know, I talked about a couple different things, and then I put a survey up to see how you guys like longer videos or shorter videos. And somebody commented and said, you know, can I talk about the back end of getting a load? You know, because my last video I talked about finding loads on the load board, and you know, negotiating rates and stuff using the rate mates and all that stuff on the load boards. So after, because you know, they said they couldn't find a lot of information about what goes on after. A lot of people don't talk about it, so I listen, I'll talk about it. It's pretty simple. So I'll start with, if you book a load with a broker that you've never worked with before, they're going to make you fill out a broker agreement or a broker packet, however they want to call it. So what that's going to be is, it can be one or two things. It can be an online broker agreement, or it may be, you know, a PDF form that you got to either write on it, print it out, write it, or you know, type in it or whatever. If you have a PDF, a way to do that on PDFs. So for me personally, that's why I use an iPad Pro for my entire business, because when I'm on the road, if I book a load from a broker that I've never used before, or if, you know, Virginia Hotshot books one that we've never used before, if it's not an online packet and I actually have to write it out, I can use the pen on the iPad Pro and I can write everything out on there, or type whatever I need to on there. I don't have to worry about, you know, stopping somewhere to find a computer, or printing it out at a truck stop to print it out and fax it back and all that stuff. I can just write right there on the iPad. I can write everything down, save it, and send it right back. But if it's an online, it's pretty self-explanatory. You basically just type it in. Now I use my iPad to do that as well, but a lot of times if you have your phone, you can do, you know, you can use your phone and all that stuff. So the things that'll be asked on the broker agreement is basically your basic things. You know, they're going to ask for your MC number. You know, they're going to ask for your insurance. They're going to ask, you know, for your W-9. You know, it's going to ask like your addresses and all that business stuff, so that they know who they're working with. Now, a lot of times on these online carrier packets, like one specific one is My Carrier Packets. A lot of times when you use that one, it will save all of your information. So anytime you work with a broker that uses My Carrier Packets, that information is already saved on there. You just got to kind of go in there and click save and next, save and next. Or if something's changed, you go ahead and change it. But for the most part, it keeps all that stuff on file. And then they also use RIMS, which is a company that keeps track of trucking insurance. So if your RIMS already has your COI, your certificate of insurance, on file, you don't have to send your COI to these brokers that use My Carrier Packets or that use RIMS. You don't have to generate a COI every single time because they already have it. Okay, RIMS is one. I forget the name of the other one right now off the top of my head. But that's the broker agreement. You know, they're going to ask your MC, your address. Though a lot of times they'll ask, you know, how many power units you have, how many trailers you have, what type of trailers you have. Some ask for references, some don't. Some will ask what lanes you prefer, some don't. So the ones that ask for what lanes, I can't stand that, because most of the time when I tell them what lanes I want, they'll call me or send me an email or a text message and ask me if I have a truck in California that's available. You know, I don't run that lane, so why would you ask me that? So but anyway, so after you fill out the broker agreement and you send that back and you're good to go, they will send you a rate confirmation. So what that rate confirmation is going to have on there, most of the time it'll have your pickup address, your drop-off address. It'll have the rate that you agreed on there, and any other information that you need for the load. It'll have your load number, which is the number that you need to get paid for, and it'll also have like your pickup numbers for the pickups and drop-offs and all that. So that rate con is basically your legal binding contract to run that load. So make sure, because there's a lot of people who say, oh, well, the broker never sent me a rate con after I was already on the way, and they get burned. I've been burned like that before because the rate con was actually wrong. They had the wrong weight on there. It was said it was like 4,800 pounds and it was really 48,000 pounds. So those things happen. So make sure that all that stuff is correct, and that's your legal binding contract. And then also when you sign that, a lot of times what I will do is once I sign that, save it and send it back, I also read the fine print before I send it back, because you never know what's on some of these fine prints. You'd be surprised at things that they have in the fine print. So always make sure, because it is a legal binding contract, always make sure that you read the small print, because the small print will have things in there like what they use or how much you can charge for detention. Some may have in the fine print that there is no detention, you know, detention pay. So, you know, read the fine print, make sure that you're okay with that before you sign it and send it back. Most of the time it's fine, you know, you don't have to worry about a bunch of them, but there are some brokers out there that have some shady stuff in the fine print. So just make sure, because like I said, it is a legal binding contract. Just make sure that you're okay with it before you put your signature on there and send it back, because once you put your signature on there and send it back, you're stuck. So after you send that rate con back, now you're good for the load. So you go, you pick up the load, you run the load, you drop it off, everything goes without a hitch. Now it's time to get paid. All right, so most brokers are 30, 60, 90 days to pay. Some of them pay quicker than that, but they'll state that they pay 30, 60, 90 days out. Some will have the option to do quick pay and things like that. But most of the time it's at least 30 days to pay, but a lot of times they pay out quicker than that. You can see that sometimes on the load board what their average day to pay is. So with that being said, if you don't want to wait 30 days or 60 days or 90 days for your money, or you can't afford to wait for that, a lot of people have a factoring company. Okay, I've done a video on factoring companies before, so I will try to put that up on the screen so that you guys can click on that, you know, as a reference if you're not exactly sure what a factoring company is. But in short, factoring companies buy your invoices, they pay you, and then the broker pays them. That's the short about it. So once you're done with the load, you send, if you have a factoring company, you send the rate confirmation along with the bill of lading and any other paperwork that's supposed to go with that load. You send that to the factoring company, and the factoring company pays you, and then the broker in turn pays the factoring company. And of course, the factoring company takes a small fee. If you don't have a factoring company, what you do is you take your rate con and your BOL and whatever other paperwork goes with your load, and you send that with an invoice back to the broker. And then you wait however long it takes for them to pay you. If they don't pay you within a reasonable amount of time, then that's when you may have to seek legal action. That's a whole nother ball game right there. But most of the time, if you're working with brokers who are worth a crap, you don't have to worry about that. Sometimes things do get lost. I've had scenarios where now I factor, but there have been some loads that I don't factor because I didn't need to, or the factoring company didn't want to work with them, or it was kind of like a smaller deal where it was a smaller company. They didn't really have like a brokerage or anything. It was kind of like a direct thing. So I had to submit an invoice to their accounting department to get paid. And I did have one instance where they paid me. I ran a bunch of loads for one customer. You know, it was kind of like a contract type thing. And like towards the end, they got jumbled up somewhere where they missed one payment. But I didn't have to say I was going to seek legal action or anything. I just went in and said, hey, I've been paid for all of these, but I'm missing this one. And that was it. Okay. So just remember, FedEx truck going by. So just remember that, you know, that rate con is a legal binding contract. So make sure that you read it and you're okay with it. It's got the right rate on there. There's been a lot of times I've heard horror stories of people signing the rate con and sending it back, and it actually didn't have the right amount of money on there, and they didn't catch it. So, and then you're stuck, because if a broker wants to be a dirtbag, he can say, well, you signed the rate con for this amount. So just make sure you read everything before you sign it and send it back. So that's pretty much the down and dirty of what happens after you book a load. So I'll go over it again real quick. If you haven't worked with the broker, you got a broker agreement to fill out. And that's just the main stuff about your business: your MC, your insurance, your W-9, what kind of fleet you have, trucks, trailers, lanes, things like that. Then you'll get your rate con. You sign your rate con. After reading it, you send it back. You run your load. You get your BOL signed. If you have a factoring company, you send that information, rate con, BOL, whatever other paperwork, you send that to the factoring company. They pay you, and then the broker pays them. If you don't have a factoring company, you take your rate con, your paperwork, everything you would send to a factoring company, and then generate your company's invoice and send that directly to the broker, and the broker will directly pay you. Okay, so that's the down and dirty. If you have any more questions about what happens on the back end after you book a load, if I didn't satisfy one of the questions that you really wanted to know about, just let me know down in the comments. And as you see, I listen, I'll get right back with it. So like I said, it is Saturday. I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my weekend. I hope you do the same. See you back here on Monday. We'll take this to Baltimore, then I'm gonna try to run a container, and then we have another load of trailers. So we're starting the week off with a bang. So I'll let the FedEx truck go back by again. You can tell they don't own their own equipment the way they be flying up and down here. But anyway, everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe, stay positive. As always, stay prayed up, grind hard, and stay humble.